Hey YouTube friends, it has been a long time I haven't been posting anything on YouTube, but today I have something to show you. Officially today is October 1st, but my garden outside is part of my garden at least is still alive. So I'm going to show the harvest I did today first. First I have tomatoes. No tomatoes, no gardens. I'll tell you why you have to grow tomatoes if you have a garden. Next, I have peppers and eggplant. These are eggplant too. I'll tell you, I wouldn't grow peppers next year because you can buy peppers in grocery store. They taste exactly the same. But I will still grow eggplant, white eggplant. I love a white eggplant. Next, I have bean leaf spinach. So shame on me, I'm using green screen. I should use white screen. So my vegetables didn't turn into gray color. I'm actually using green screen. Next, I have squash. These are climbing squash. You can tell this one looks good. And then some is beaten badly by, like this one, it's beaten badly by beetles, squash or cucumber beetles. That's all I have today. That's a lot. Four pots of vegetables. This probably going to be the last harvest or the second to the last harvest of this year. Next, I'm going to show you I had many such huge harvests over the summer. So I'm going to flash through some of the harvest I took picture with. So this is very early on. That's beans, cucumbers, spinach, one kind of spinach leaf. Here you can see my bean plants and the trellis, and there is a corn plant and more cucumber, beans, and eggplants. Do they look beautiful? I like these colors. And then, of course, orange tomato. And more cucumber, eggplant, squash, beans, and basil, Thai basil. I love these. I have several plants this year, and some I give away to friends. Again, spinach leaves. It's not the exact spinach, but it's called spinach. And then beans, tomatoes, cilantro here, and basil, Thai basil. More similar stuff. Of course, you can see peppers here, which I'm not going to grow next year. Oh, tomatoes. Wow. We had so much cherry tomatoes this year. We eat all of them. We eat all of them. And this tomato mostly we use to fry eggs. More peppers, eggplants, and cherry tomatoes. Look how much we eat. We can eat this whole dish of cherry tomatoes in a day. My family eats all of them. And then more beans, peppers, tomatoes, eggplant. Almost every other day or a few days I harvest this much again. More of this stuff. And then beans, tomatoes. I believe these three are peppers. And then a squash. That's the most healthy squash I got this year. Somehow my soil in the backyard isn't good for this climbing squash. I didn't get a lot earlier in the year, in the summer. Later, after I used some fertilizer, I did get some, but they don't look that good. So that's all the plants, all the harvest I did over the summer. Maybe not all, but a majority of it. Sometimes I forgot to take pictures. Sometimes I just pick up and give away to friends right away. In summer, my backyard garden actually significantly reduced my grocery bill. So I spend only half money in summer on grocery than usual. And in my backyard garden doesn't look that great, but it's actually gives me a lot. So next I'll show you my backyard vegetable garden in July. So we are going back in time. Now we have turned back time and we are back in July. So here at the corner I have tomatoes. The rule is to plant seedlings apart so when they grow up they are not touching each other. If one plant becomes infested with something, it does not transmit to the next one. But in reality, my tomatoes are on top of each other every year. And then harvesting is really tough. I have to go inside there, crawl under it. There is no way I can harvest on top of them. I have to crawl under the tomato plants. I have to be a contortionist. I promised to tell you why I said no tomatoes, no garden. In another word, as long as I have a garden, I will always grow tomatoes. This summer, when I put the first perfectly ripe cherry tomato in my mouth, the flavor was so good, I immediately realized why the tomatoes from grocery store don't taste good. Not because of soil or watering or even the seeds variety. It's because of the picking time. It's not practical for grocery store to pick tomatoes at the best tasting ripen stage. That's why we will always have tomatoes from grocery store that don't taste as good as the ones we grow in our own garden. So that's why as long as I have a garden, I will always grow tomatoes. And then on the edge, I have squash. These are climbing squash. Somehow the soil is not good for this plant. So you can see the squash there is not that healthy. A lot of leaves are yellow early on. So when they are not healthy, they don't produce a lot, actually. And then I have 2 beans. That's what I planned when 2 of the squash didn't germinate and I ran out of squash seeds. So I planted 2 beans there. But I'm not supposed to plant beans here this year because last year I have beans on the edge. They grow very fast. They climb into the top, almost to the roof. Very quickly. So I love these bean plants. I plan to grow every year. I just need to switch to different spots in my backyard garden. On top of a water reservoir, I have tea basils. They were not that big at that time, but later on they covered the whole top. And I also have 3 sunflowers planted. They grow very tall and make it look like topsy-turvy, so I actually sawed them off. I don't like them that tall there. Below here they are mint. Never grow mint in the ground because you will never be able to get rid of them. I pull one plant out every day to make a fresh mint leaves tea. I don't grow them here. It's just 1 year I grow them on the top of the water reservoir and the seeds fell off to the ground. So now I will have mint forever in my life. I pull them out all the time, but I can never completely get rid of them. Here on the deck I have some potted Thai basil, several of them. I plan to give away some and maybe transplant 2 of them to my raised bed garden. And then also extra, the tall one is the extra pepper plant in a pot. I don't have space for it, and the 3 flowers on the deck. This is an eggplant. This plant doesn't look healthy because of the soil is not deep enough. My garden is kind of like a raised bed garden. If you ever have a raised bed garden, you know how much soil it takes. I don't have money to buy that much of soil, so I cheated. It's actually straw under, and I have several inches of soil on top, but that's still not deep enough to eggplant. Their roots actually go very deep. So when the roots don't get good nutrition, the plant is not healthy. But I saved that plant by watering regularly, and later on I also used fertilizer. So it actually gives me several eggplants from that plant. Here are peppers. Again, I already said I'm not going to grow peppers next year. And here is some cilantro and cucumbers. Cucumber plants are a total surprise for me this year because I don't know what to grow here, and I have only a few 5 cucumber seeds left. So I planted them there, and they grow very well. And I had a lot of cucumbers before cucumber beetles show up. Once cucumber beetles show up, very soon they will beat up those plants. They will stop producing. And some mustard green. And here is my bean plants. This year I had to plant 3 times. First time I used the city recycling center free compost. When I went there to get the compost, there were 2 guys who were getting the compost too. I asked them, do you need to mix this compost with some other soil to grow vegetables? They said, no, we just use this as it is. And we grow tomatoes, they grow so well every year. So I just use that. It turns out beans germinate quickly, but they die quickly too because the compost probably is too hot, and it burned the germinated seedlings as soon as they germinated. So the second time I decided to start them in the mix. I made a mistake of putting that starter seedlings on the deck, and I wait. Nothing came out, so I dig into the mix and I found, okay, all the seeds rotted inside the germinating mix. So because it's too hot, and the box I put in collected rain, so too hot, too wet, they rotted. And the third time I have to buy topsoil mixed with the city recycling center free compost. Then it worked. So this is the beans from the third planting. A little bit late, but I think they will still give me good yield. And it turned out, yeah, I had a lot of beans this year. And this is a relative of spinach. I eat the leaves. I have 4. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the only leafy green plant I grow, and I will tell you why. Because it tastes sour. Worms don't like it. That's the only leafy vegetable I can have some. After all, the worms eat the rest of other leafy vegetables. If you are a beginning gardener, you probably don't want to grow any leafy vegetables. And let me show you a picture and then why. If you grow leafy vegetables, this will be what it will become. There is no leaves for you to eat. Worms will eat all of it. They work on it 24 hours a day. So, and then here is another. This year, after several years of not growing leafy vegetables, I tried again this year. Look, it has so many holes on it and so many caterpillars in the leaves and so much caterpillar poops on the leaves. I don't want to eat it, so I just grow one leafy vegetable I found that worms don't like. I can use it to stir fry beef, use it in soup noodles. That's good enough for me. One green leafy vegetable is better than no leafy vegetables at all. You might wonder why I have only one corn plant. Actually, there is a story. Because I don't want to grow so many beans, I decided to grow something else and I find 4 popcorn kernel seeds I still have from a few last year and the year before last year. So I planted 4 of them and they came out first. I thought they were weeds, so I wonder why weeds doesn't grow anywhere else but on the spots that I planted something. It didn't even come to me that I planted corn there. So I pulled 2 out and then I pulled the third one out and I decided to look at the bottom that weed look like at the root. So when I pulled it out, it's corn kernel. Then it came to me that I actually planted 4 corns there. So that's the thing. I planted with one hand and I pulled them out with the other hand. That's why I ended up with only one corn plant. But this is the first time I grow a corn that grow 3 cobs on one plant. I was very excited, but recently the garden is about to be done, so I didn't go out for a few days in my backyard garden. And then one day when I tried to check on things, I found some beast has bent my corn plant down and ate every single kernel on those 3 cobs. So I guess it didn't mean for me to have popcorn this year. Not self-grown popcorns, I guess, at least. So here is a turned around look of my backyard garden. My dream is to let plants climb all the way to the deck so it forms a sheet over bridge. Unfortunately, this year again my plants didn't climb that far, so I didn't have a shade over bridge in my garden, but it's very close. But the good thing is I still have a dream, so next year I can try to do that again. I'm doing better each year, so with the lessons I learned the year before, so I'm sure next year I'll do better. These are 4 other water reservoirs I have, 4 black trash cans, you can see here. So I have plenty of water to water my plants. I usually don't use my tap water at all. That's it for today. I hope you liked today's video about gardening. If you like to support me, please click the subscriber button. If you like to participate, leave your comments or questions down below. See you next time.